Okay, so sorry I didn't have time to change but I just gave that talk in Germany. I told you I drove to Germany, so it's here. I was asked to give that talk because I'm giving it first because I'm giving it for a long time, and it simply demonstrates how we use computational tools similar to what Dave just presented to elucidate evolution. And it's the very basics, very many branches we now develop from what you will see here. This is the very basics of it, but it's very general. Okay, so let's start. So evolution informs us about everything in biology. Big genome sequencing, as you just saw now, projects produce more and more data. So what? And evolutionary history relates all organisms and genes and helps us understand and predict. This is a very small list of things, but interaction between genes, gene functions, and origin and spread of disease, origins and migration of humans, and so on and so forth. And we can talk about so many other things in evolution, as I presented myself that I do everything regarding evolution. So, and I tend to cite this very famous wording of Dobzhansky: nothing in biology makes sense. By the way, not Shani, Shenhav, you hear me well there in the back? Jason, you hear me well? Can I be understood? Yeah, really? Okay. So, nothing in biology makes sense except in the light of evolution. And the more I mess with evolution, I see this is, I understand the depths of this saying. And so this is the phylogeny, and it represents evolutionary history. So here, the leaves represent living species, and branches or internal nodes represent extinct species or speciation events during the history. And branches represent evolutionary relationship between the nodes, whether they are leaves or internal nodes. So what is the outline of my talk? I'll start with Supertree construction, the very basics, as I told you. Rooted Supertree, I'll present the mean cut versus the max cut in the rooted setting, which is really important and essential here. Then I'll move to unrooted Supertree, and I will present the Quartet max cut. Quartet puzzling I will present a little bit. Then I will move to theoretical results, and I'll show you. So you don't hear me well, okay? Okay, so I'll move to theoretical results. I'll speak about approximation. Okay, good, thanks Dave. Quartet approximation, and I'll speak about approximation and probabilistic models in approximation, which is hardcore theoretical computer science. And then I will return to biology and show you how these things connect together. Okay? Conclusion. Now, of course, as before, feel free to interrupt me with questions, because it's not, everything is not very simple here. Okay. No technical details, more or less. Okay, so let's start. What is Supertree construction? So in standard phylogenetics, wow, great. מה אתה אומר?
יש גם קליקר.
לא, אבל צריך להכניס לו את ה... בסדר. So in standard phylogenetics, what we get is this specific gene, okay, this is one gene, and these are called orthologous sequences that exist in all these guys, okay? So this is how gene A appears in all these guys, and we infer the evolutionary history from the differences between this gene A. It must be gene A. Now, the problem is that we don't always have gene A first either sequenced or appearing in all our organisms, okay? So for instance, here we have gene A in this set of guys, okay, these organisms, and here we have gene B, these organisms. And what we would like to do is somehow collect that information and infer the evolution of all these sets. Now, moreover, we can incorporate other data, not necessarily molecular data, to our evolutionary history. We collect everything, and now when we have all this power, computational power and technology, we can take many other sources of information and enrich our information. Okay, so we would like to use all these data, and build separate trees over every source of information, and then combine them together. So this is the Supertree task that aims at combining all these trees on overlapping species like you see here, into one big tree. So Supertree task is to combine many small trees into one large tree. Okay, to example, so we have these trees over, these are the primates. Here we have primate and fish. Here we have fish and primates. And now let's see how we combine all these guys into one tree over the fish and primates. Okay? So this yields us this big tree over fish and primates. And soon we will get into details how we actually do that. Okay, so rooted versus unrooted trees. So in the rooted setting, okay, in the more conventional phylogenetics, the tree looks like that. Okay, it is rooted. We have here the root, okay, the common ancestor to all these guys. And trees are represented, so the relationship here is represented or conveyed by LCAs, least common ancestor, okay? And the minimal reconstruction unit, or the minimum informational unit, is a rooted triplet like here, that tells us that these guys are more related to this guy, okay, than this guy. And he is called, and she is called outgroup. Okay? In the unrooted setting, here we don't really have a root. The root can be just everywhere here, not necessarily here, just everywhere here. Okay? And here we don't have the time notion, and trees are represented by splits between set of taxa, and this is the most basic informational unit that only tells us that these and these are separated in the big tree from these two. Nothing about distances. This guy may be much closer to this guy than to this guy, yet they have a common ancestor that is more recent than this guy. Okay? So nothing about distances, just the combinatorial relationship that there exists a split here, and the ancestry is like that, okay? Okay, so what is the underlying supertree approach? It goes like that. Given input trees of various sizes, like here, okay? And this is exactly the example that we saw, and now we are going to see how exactly mathematically or algorithmically we infer that big tree, okay? So what we do is that we decompose the input trees into the basic units, okay, like here. Okay, so these are already in their basic units, triplets, rooted triplets, but we decompose this into, I think, these 4 to 4 triplets. It's I think this is these guys, okay, or maybe these guys from here, okay, and now we combine all of them together, the resulted units, into a complete tree by satisfying the maximum of these units. Okay, we combine them and we get that big tree. How we combine? Okay, let's forget about that. So how we combine? So amalgamating rooted triplets, it is surprisingly a very classical, so it is really surprising that the algorithm for doing that is actually from database theory, okay? Hey, David, you still hear me okay? David? Okay. So, yeah, it works recursively by a divide and conquer approach. Let's look at this approach. So, it constructs a connectivity graph over the set of taxa and partitions this connectivity graph by the relationship from our informational units. Let's have a look. Okay, so these are the guys. This is, now we are constructing the connectivity graph over our set of taxa, okay, or guys. Okay, so we have these rooted triplets. Okay, so we draw an edge between these two guys. Okay, these two sisters. They are sisters. Okay, we draw that edge. Another triplet. Can someone tell me what edge I should draw in the connectivity graph? Exactly, between the fish. Exactly, because this is the sister taxa. This is the cherry, what is called cherry in evolution. And so on and so forth. Let's have a more conclusive toy example. So now let's move into algorithms. This is our set of taxa. These are our triplets. Construct the connectivity graph as follows. These are the guys. Now, what edge should I draw? Can someone see? What? 1, 2. Okay. Now? Okay, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 3, and 6, 5. Okay. Exhausted, I depleted the list. And now what we do? Now we have that connectivity graph. How many components, connected components you see here? 2. Okay, great. So introduce a new tree node U. So while I'm decomposing the connectivity graph, I build in parallel but recursively, and it is important to remember this word, recursively. I construct recursively the tree. Okay, so this is our tree. This tree node U represents the partition over that graph over these guys. Okay, so this is the partition, and we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, and their information. This is the information that is contained within these guys. Okay, within this component. and we have here these 5 and 6, and the information is with the triplets. The information contained in these guys. Of course, no information can be contained here. Okay, is that clear? Of course, no information can go here. So what we do is this. Now we recursively continue on every part of this partition. Okay? So one part is apply the algorithm recursively on every component of G, okay, that wholly contained in with the triplets that wholly contained in the component, like I just told you. Now, okay, so hang the resulting trees that I will get from here and here, I will hang them, okay, under U. Under this U, okay? So let's see how it goes. So 5 and 6, no information. Yes, Dave?
Quick question. So on the previous slide, you had more triplets.
Yeah.
So where did those end up?
They were not contained in every component. These are exactly the triplet that gave me this partition. They partitioned 5 and 6 from 1, 2, 3, 4.
So you only include those triplets that are wholly contained?
Exactly, as I said. That wholly contained in the component, okay? But those triplets that you asked for, these are exactly the guys that gave me, okay, or biologically gave me this partition, okay?
Can you show the previous slide again?
Sure. This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is like 415. Oh, I see.
Okay, so 415 is not contained neither here nor here. Okay? This one does, this one not. Okay? But these are exactly the guys that phylogenetically or biologically gave me this partition to say that actually I will get to it more or deeper very soon. Okay? It's a great question that you noted or noted that. Okay, so like I said, I mean, there is no information here. There cannot be any information here in 5 and 6, so I only hang them. But it's really, I mean, this is very marginal detail. What is more important is what's going on here, because this actually shows us or demonstrates the recursive approach. Okay, so this is what we need to do. We just forget recursion. Okay, recursion or inductively, we forget about everything we saw until now, and we solve that problem separately. So can someone solve this toy problem? These are the guys. What are the edges? Some student? What? Okay, 1, 2, 2, 3. Exactly. 1, 2, 2, 3. Great. Okay, 4 is here. 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 is here. And this is the triplet that is wholly contained. And this triplet actually gave us that information, this split information, that split, okay? Now, this is easy. This is really easy. There is no need to, this is really easy. This is the tree that is obtained from here. So we have U2 here, 4 under U2, and this is the tree, okay, because we see 1, 2 is separated from 3, 1, 2 is separated from 3, this is truly. Now we glue them, now we go back in the recursion, we fold back in the recursion, and we get to the final tree. This is the final tree that was resulted, okay? It's very, very elegant, simple in a way, but really cool. Cool algorithm. Yeah, please.
So this algorithm definitely says that a Supertre right, it's not immediately obvious to me that it's unique, right?
That is unique?
Right.
It is unique. It is unique. It represents, sometimes you may have not enough information, and what you exhibit, what you output is exactly the information that there is in your data. The information is, of course, this is exactly the information. This is just your input. Sometimes you may have just empty set here, empty set of information, and you will the tree that you will plot is just a star. Okay, a star, no information. Okay, no information in a star. Okay, so you plot the exact and the minimum, or the minimum and the maximum information in your input. Okay, good question. Yeah, please.
What happens if our graph has a single connected component?
Okay, why should it happen?
Because our trees were like that.
You have errors.
If you have errors, or if it's gene trees and there are.
Okay, so that's a great question and comment. So if we have a tree, we will not run into that. Okay, so if they represent a tree, then we will not run into this. This is a very good. I mean, it is simple, but simple for us that we know these relations or these material for. But so it is if and only if these guys represent a tree, we will not run into such a situation. And this is my next slide. Yes, Cody.
Okay, so I was kind of on that same idea. Like what you said before, like you gene A and gene B, if they overlap or exist in the same different statements, like incompletely.
Yeah, they overlap. They overlap in species. Doesn't mean, look, these guys are trees. Okay, they overlap in species. These guys, this is a small tree. This is a small tree. They overlap in species. It doesn't mean they disagree. But you're right, when we have some biological mechanism, biological phenomena that induce disagreement. Yes, please.
Just going back to the uniqueness question.
To which question?
To the uniqueness of the tree.
Okay. Let's not run. Let's not. Okay. Yeah,
you said that you could have stars, like instead of having binary leaves.
Yeah, star still is a unique tree.
Okay. But that could be in an interior node, not just on the leaves. You could have.
So everything here is unique. Everything here is unique.
Yeah. It would be. My question is, imagining that the ground truth would be like a binary tree.
Okay.
You had data that is incomplete and does not allow you to reconstruct that binary tree. You could still have something unique, but that would no longer be binary. Is that true or not? Like you could have.
I know what you mean. You don't know what is the right tree. You only see this, and you output or display exactly the information, as long as these guys agree, it's the exact information that in your classification data, in your data. Yes, please. Let's.
Say if you have another triplet that indicates 4 and 5 is closer than 6.
Okay, let's.
Then this represents multiple.
Yeah, exactly. So you all understand the next slide. So life is not so simple, okay? As Cody knows that from her undergrad. So and we run into maximum triplet consistency, and in many cases the triplets are incompatible. And remind me your name. We sat next to each other. So yeah. Lydia? Yeah, okay, yeah, it's hard for us to, but okay, so this is exactly what you meant. there is no tree that resolves all of them. Okay, so triplets are incompatible. This is what you said, and Cody said, and maybe not necessarily others. Okay, so this is exactly, I try to do everything as simple as possible. So this is exactly, we know the algorithm. Please, run the algorithm. 1, 2. Okay, how many components? Exactly, one component. One component, disagreement, conflict, okay? So, if and only if your, I wouldn't say even triplet, because they can be bigger than triplet. If your input is incompatible, you will end up here. Okay, and the MTC problem, find a tree T star that resolves the maximum number of triplets. Let me just go and take some water with your permission. So actually, this question was for a long time open, if this is hard or not. Okay, I mean, if this is solvable. The MTC, it was white, and it never really appeared in for a long time. But yeah, it's quite obvious. I mean, yeah, now it is known that MTC is hard. Yeah, but so it's really important to go back here and to watch a very basic observation. Every triplet here, okay, every triplet contributes to our graph. How many edges? What? This graph, to our connectivity graph. 1, correct? 1 edge, okay? And the only thing we want in life, okay, the only thing we want in life is just to get 2 components. Nothing more than that. So what we want to do, we just want to partition this graph, correct? And we want to violate the minimum number of triplets, correct? So what we need to do? Every triplet is 1 edge. We want to partition by partition, not tripartition, nothing. Just for us, bipartition is enough. What we need to do? What? Exactly, min cut. Min cut to partition the graph into 2 components while violating the minimum number of triplets. And indeed, this was, this algorithm, this solution was suggested by 2 groups in parallel. These algorithmic guys these are European guys, and these names probably are to some of here from New Zealand. And based on the observation that I just described, every edge in the connectivity graph represents a triplet. So we run, of course, we must run AHO algorithm, and we run it, and partition the leaves. If the connectivity graph is connected, means that, what you guys just said, that the triplets are incompatible. We just run min cut, we violate, we remove the minimum number of triplets, and continue. Partition the leaves accordingly, continue with the recursive algorithm. Okay. So, is this exact? So of course it's not exact, because the problem is hard. So okay, so let's continue, so let's move faster. The min cut is local. Why it is local? it counts only violated triplet. This is first motivation or incentive, but it also, it doesn't look at the entire, when I say local, it doesn't look at the entire picture, okay? The entire picture is there when we see the whole input. This might be found very shallow in our, after we ran many rounds, okay, partitions, and now we ran into this inconsistency and ran the min cut, okay? So the min cut is really local. Let's have a look on this. Let's have a look on this. This is min cut. So this is our input. This is our connectivity graph. You can easily see that it is inconsistent, correct? You guys see that? And let's start to run min cut. Min cut violates this triplet because it separates 1 from 2. And now we continue. Another min cut. So this one was violated. Another min cut. Probably it will violate this one, so it separates, so it violated this one, okay? Another time, AO algorithm, and we left with this graph. Another min cut. Probably it will kill, let's see. Okay, so this one was violated, and now 2 triplets will always agree. Never mind why, but okay, so what is the tree that we obtained? So this is the tree that we obtained. First we separated 1, you remember? We separated 1. Then we separated 3, that edge. Then we separated 2, and now we have 4, 5, 6. That is from here, okay, that we cannot really distinguish. So actually, so this is the tree. Let's see how many triplets we satisfied here. How many triplets are satisfied? So, so I don't see it here, but actually, the only triplets that were satisfied are these 2, okay? Now, let's see what is, so quite long time ago, we came with this idea. And the idea is this. At every step, when the algorithm is stuck, and this returns back to what David asked in the beginning, some triplets are violated, okay, when the algorithm is stuck. But some are satisfied, okay? The triplets that were vanished, that were between one side and the other side, they were satisfied, okay? Now, the min cut for triplet ijk denote the original edge, the original ij edge. This is the original edge. You remember, we entirely ignored k, but we looked at I and j. We call it a bad edge that we don't want to cut. Okay, if we cut it, we violate that triplet. However, we introduce 2 new good edges, ik and jk. Okay, these are the good edges. Why good edges? These edges are the edges that we want to cut. Okay, and the observation. Okay, so this is our original or old graph with bad edges. Okay, what happened here? Not really. Nothing that I did. Okay, so this is the original min cut edge, or say still sample and still edge graph, connectivity graph, but we add all these edges, these good edges. Now, observation. Every triplet ijk such that I and j is not in the cut, okay, but either ik or jk in the cut, then this triplet is satisfied. So instead of just count how many triplets are violated, which is local, we have now a more inclusive criterion that counts also how many triplets are satisfied. Okay? So, idea, find a cut that maximizes the ratio between good and bad edges. And naturally, and this is why I am happy with this toy example that I show for maybe 10 years, that it's really, everything here is really obvious, okay? So it's obvious what cut will satisfy the most or this criterion, okay? And of course, this is this cut that violates only one bad edge, but cuts almost every blue edge. Okay, so this is the cut, and let's see what we get from this. So this is the cut, and what we see is that indeed we must violate one edge. But all these triplets have, all the other triplets have some blue edge, okay, in that cut. Okay, all these guys. And that's it. And this is our tree. And the tree now violates, this is our tree, and it violates one triplet, but satisfies 4. Okay? Consider that, and it has a lot of information. Let's see if I have here the tree. Okay, I don't have it here, but the nice thing is that it has, all these guys are satisfied. It has much more information, and moreover, just a second, in one cut, one application, I finished the algorithm. No more triplets. Okay? So also, wow. Yeah, please, go on.
Once you cut a bad edge, it doesn't really help you to cut the good edge, the associated good edges, right? Is that true?
Once I cut a bad edge, I must...
To be able to satisfy that triplet anymore, once you cut that bad edge. So cutting its good edges don't actually get you anything.
When I cut good edges, I satisfy some triplet.
If you've already cut the bad edge for that triplet,
Oh,
you can no longer be satisfied.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah. And if I cut a bad edge, then that triplet was, you can cut as many as you want, or you can cut also its good edges, but you violated that triplet. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue. So the thing is this, look, of course, this is a heuristic, same like min cut. It is a heuristic. I cannot prove anything, by the nature, by the recursive nature, I cannot prove anything here, okay? However, as opposed to min cut, I have here a heuristic that is NP hard, okay? Because this is exactly our criterion, okay, that we want to maximize alpha, okay, so this is C, the cut, and we want to maximize alpha, which is exactly the ratio between good edges and bad edges, okay, good edges and bad edges. So we look for C that maximizes alpha, okay, and this is equivalent to solving max cut, and max cut is hard. So not only I give a heuristic here, the heuristic is NP hard. So why doing that? Okay, and indeed for a long time we didn't know, I mean, we just got good results, we didn't know, but we will get into it soon, and we will show why to do this, this approach. Now, when I write here has some exact algorithm, I already allude to the continuation that there are exact algorithms for max cut, but these exact algorithms are approximation. Okay, an approximation for me is exact. I mean, I know exactly what I get. From heuristics, I don't know what I get. Okay, so, but also these are very slow. The approximation are very slow, and in the beginning, indeed, I used max-cut solvers, and they were really slow. So then we came with some idea of ourselves from geometry, okay, to do semi-definite programming, and this is the idea. So now we take it into geometry, and we represent every species, okay, every species we represent as a point in the space. And now, a point in the space, and now that we have geometry, we have distances. These are Euclidean distances between guys, and we now want to satisfy or maximize this expression of geometry, geometrical or Euclidean distances. So again, I want to maximize alpha, but I also need to embed these guys somewhere in the space. So what is our heuristic? We embedded these guys on the three-dimensional unit sphere, and we just move them, heuristically, we move them in order to maximize this function, and these the Euclidean distances, as I told you, and this is done by, we have here a set of attraction and distraction, and we move the points accordingly until we get, we did some constant number of times, and then we run a random partition over our sphere, and we get the cut. Okay, so let's look again our classical example. So this is our example, and so 1 and 2 we try to put them, to locate them far from each other. Okay, so next to each other, because we want to minimize the length of this edge. Okay, and we want to maximize the length of the blue edges. Okay, so this is exactly the incentive behind that expression that I just showed you. Okay, so we want to maximize the length of the blue edges. We want to put them as far apart as possible, and the red edges as near as possible. And of course, just run some random partition here through the origin. You can see that with high probability, it will partition as we wish. Okay, so here, random partition, and it really does the job. Okay, so that's it. Now, but the harder task is unrooted trees. With unrooted trees, so I'll get back to this approach soon under unrooted trees. With unrooted trees, the triplet, the unrooted triplet has no information. There is not any phylogenetic information in unrooted triplet because there is no cut here. There is no cut that gives you any combinatorial information. And then the smallest information unit is a quartet tree that tells you that there exists an edge, a split, that separates 1 and 2 from 3 and 4. Okay, so 1 and 2 are separated from 3 and 4. Now, quartet amalgamation stands at the heart of almost any phylogenetic task. Okay, so this question of quartet amalgamation or quartet in general is open for many, many years with very little progress. So it is among, and people publish and many, but it's always around this question. So from triplets to quartets, so no available divide and conquer algorithm. Okay, so while we had a divide and conquer, that's Eho and Al algorithm for the triplets that really considered the rooting, here we have no such algorithm. No wonder. Let's have a look why. And this is a hard task in general, which means that even when the quartets agree, we don't know how to infer that tree, which means that this is a tough problem. Quartet introduced non-trivial obstacles for working with cuts. I'll show you soon why it is true. And what our results, this is subsequent paper with Satish Rao. So we extended the connectivity graph to deal with quartets. Okay, so the connectivity graph is not anymore over triplets, rather over quartets. And independent divide and conquer algorithm. And let's see the ideas behind our approach. So how we combine quartets. For triplets, you saw very simple and intuitive algorithm, the Eho algorithm. Let's see with quartets. So we have these two quartets over 1, 2, 3, 4, and here 3, 2, 4, 5, and we are wondering where to locate this guy over this quartet, and naturally we see that it must be here. It must be here because 4 and 5 are cherry, our sister taxa. Okay, 4 and 5 are sister taxa. But, and this is the tree, this is exactly the same tree. But let's have a look on this tree. Here we have 4 and 5, but instead of 1 and 3, we have 1 and 2. So where can exactly we put 5? So if we put 5 here, it is okay. It is okay. It is exactly the information. Okay, so here the three are not unique. As opposed to triplets, that everything was unique, here it's not unique. We can put 5 here, which is okay. We can put 5 here, which is okay. And we can also put 5 here. So we have 3 choices. All of them are okay. So we can now do recursively, okay, and search under one topology, under another topology, and another topology, and we will get into exponential number of topologies that are all okay. And this is why the recursive algorithm is not valid here. And some overlap and structure is required, so we need some structure. Even when all quartets agree, a tree realizing them exists, finding the tree is hard, and dealing with conflicting quartet is problematic anyhow. Okay, so it's problematic even when the quartet agree. The quartets agree. So what is the quartet extension? So we draw bad edges between the cherries, naturally. We don't want to separate these guys. And we draw the good edges between these guys because we do want to cut them. And we assign the unitary weight here and the minus alpha here. And now, and the motivation is that a maximum cut will strive to cut these guys, but not to cut these edges. Okay, so we denote this G of Q. This is G of Q, that graph. Okay, so here are our quartets, and this is G of Q. And notice that in G of Q, so we don't have these original edges. These are the evolutionary edges, but we can be connected by good and bad edges simultaneously, like here or here. We have good and bad edges, okay? And how we adjust the recursive algorithm in triplets, we have either a triplet is violated, like you see here. It separates 1 from 2 and 3, okay? So it is violated, or it is satisfied. It does exactly what we want. 1 and 2 are separated from 3. However, with quartets, we can violate the quartet. The quartet here is violated, you see, okay? It puts 1 and 3 together and 2 and 4 together. That quartet is dead. This quartet is satisfied by the cut, but it does that. And this is, again, the problem. So we can have a quartet that is deferred, okay? 1 is separated, and we need to remember that 1 was here, and if we now place 2 and 3 together, we killed that quartet, okay? So we need to remember, and we need to remember all the time more and more quartets, because we go down, we continue with the recursion, and that quartet is undecided yet. Okay, so I'm very new so I can finish in 1 minute. And so if all cuts are found correctly, the quartet tree is returned, and let's see if I have something. So this is the series. So just benchmarking, so it's so the thing is that and still I may say that there are many approaches to Supertree and to Quartet Supertree. This is the only one that really has some algorithmic incentive. People try exhaustive approaches. This is the exhaustive approaches. MRP is exhaustive. It tries to solve NP-hard problem. So this is accuracy, and this is running time. Let me go fast, and new algorithm, and here, that's crazy. This we don't have any. This is topological error, so no error at all, and this is the old approach, and this is running time we're talking about. So since I need to cut, or since my time is over, I would say that we have that software, and it is quite a popular software that implements this approach that I described to you, and just a second, and that's it. So theory, if you want, there is a lot of theory here. We published quite a few papers in why this approach also gives you some theoretical results, and that's it. Oh I mean, if time permits, do we have time for questions? What? We have?
Yes.
Okay, sure. Anyone has question? Okay, sure. Yeah.
Because the core of this problem is in the existence of different data sets, as I understood. That it's not all genomic data, but some proteomic data, and we want to combine these different data sets in one. Because if you have genomes of all organisms on Earth, there would be some kind of neural network which could make one tree without any mistake again.
So let me say it's a great question, because you can leave aside all the technicalities of this. It's a great question. The thing is this, as quartets are so fundamental, and like Cody, and remind me your name? Bius mentioned, so to deal with conflicts in gene trees and incomplete lineage sorting, these are things that you will find a lot in genomics. The idea is the only idea that I know of is to decompose these trees into these basic units and then combine them together. So more and more people, and in our theoretical results, I mean, I could show you that when you really decompose your species trees or your gene trees into quartets, you can overcome many algorithmic obstacles that otherwise you would have to cope to. So there are many motivations to use that approach, and not about different sets. It's not only about different sets or different inputs. It's many other things. Because of the fundamental nature of the quartets or triplets. I mean, mostly it is quartets because your input is unrooted. What?
Your input comes from published literature, is it correct?
It's not really, no, my gene trees, these are gene trees that you get from the databases.
I was wondering, is there a way to go from quartets to triplets? Because, for example, one quartet could be translated into 4 triplets.
But yeah, but these should be rooted, and you don't have this rooting. You don't have the time notion. When you don't have the time notion, and you don't have the time notion in your DNA, okay, you see sequences of DNA. Okay, so there are many approaches. I'm here for the entire course. I mean, not only the retreat, not only the short course, the entire course, and even more than that. We can speak a lot on evolution and algorithmics, and you don't have the time notion in your DNA. So the most common case is that you have unrooted trees, which means quartets. Okay.
But if you have one taxa that is included in all your quartets,
okay,
then you can kind of take it out and treat them as triplets. But usually you don't have that. So then it reduces to the triplets.
Yeah, exactly. So this is so you have many.
You think of that as the root, and artificially rooted from that taxa, reconstruct the rooted tree. It's not the real rooting, but
exactly. It's not the real rooting.
Rooted tree, but then remove that rooting, you will get an unrooted tree.
Yeah, I was wondering more whether, like, going from quartets to triplets, then running the algorithm to get this.
But then
you don't know which of the triplets.
So then you remove the fact that you have a root, and you want root.
Yeah, so you can do it if, I think.
So wait, Ilan, let's not start some internal conversation, but let me just categorize what Ilan said. You have many special cases. He just mentioned one special case. Another special case that another special case is that you have all quartets. I mean, there are many special cases. This is just one another. And that's it. But basically, when you don't have, the time, so your triplets are unrooted, meaning no information. Okay?